we're here to talk about the World Cup. Who's excited for a 2026 World Cup? And we heard those intros. We have two of the biggest leaders in soccer right here in the U.S. right now. This is the first time we're going to be hosting a World Cup since, in my opinion, the greatest team in sports history won the 1999 World Cup. Cindy, you know, the 99ers were iconic, but we're 9 months out from the 2026 World Cup. You know, as the head of a federation who's hosting this event, what are these next few months look like for you?
I think it's both hectic and overwhelming, but also super exciting. What people don't realize is this is going to be the biggest World Cup that there has ever been. There's 48 teams now. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be like having 4 Super Bowls every single day for 5 weeks.
Sounds pretty fun.
I cannot wait.
And Don, the last time the World Cup was here, the Men's World Cup was here in '94, the MLS didn't even exist yet. So how do you know, and you're a big part of this World Cup, hospitality and infrastructure. Tell us how the MLS plays a role in this World Cup.
I will, but before, I'd like to give a shout out. You heard Gary saying wonderful things about his owner in DC. I'm gonna give a great shout out to Cindy, who has won gold medals, lifted World Cup trophies, and now transitioned as an athlete to be the president of our federation, and has done an incredible job turning U.S. soccer around to what I think is the best national governing body in the USOPC. So proud and honored to be her friend and to be on the board of U.S. Soccer for many years.
Yeah.
When the World Cup was here in '94, it was the most successful World Cup of all time, including Germany and Brazil and South Africa and Qatar, just because of the size and scope of our buildings and the fact that we're such a diverse country. And even back then, lots of people loved the game. FIFA required a commitment from U.S. Soccer back then that they had to launch a first division league. There was no first division soccer league, men or women, in 1994, and MLS 30 years later is the outgrowth of that. So to Cindy's point, this is going to be bigger than anybody ever imagined. I think FIFA doesn't yet realize how big it's going to be. Our country loves big events. We've got incredible venues. We love to engage with big hospitality and trying to share in the excitement and drama and appeal of big sporting events. So it's going to be massive, and we're all super, super excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to get through the rest of this season. You have to make sure 2026 starts and goes off without a hitch, while still preparing for the World Cup. So how does that for you? Do you have to hire more people? Or are you just more in touch with U.S. Soccer and FIFA?
Well, I think it's twofold, right? What does the Federation do in a very different role than we as a member of the Federation, as a league? But it's important. You know, this is the rocket fuel that will drive popularity, interest, and engagement in our sport to even higher levels than our 30 teams and you know where the league is today. But it's work. You know, you've got to do the work. You can't just assume, because millions and millions of people are going to be coming into our country now in ways that I think are perhaps will be hopefully as welcoming as they've ever been for a World Cup. We've got to do the right marketing. We've got to get the right players on the field. We've got to ensure that our teams are doing fan fests, and teams in Canada and Mexico. So we have a team in Vancouver, a team in Toronto that will be hosting the World Cup. Got many, many MLS teams that will be host cities, and we've got a lot of work to do. And I think people will feel the power of what that's going to be with the connectivity between our league and other men's leagues, and certainly the women's league as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cindy, can you talk a little bit about that, about the partnership a little bit more? How much are you talking to the MLS? How much are you talking to FIFA, the NWSL, all the key stakeholders?
Well, we don't talk to MLS.
They've never met each other.
No, first time. You know, as FIFA is running the day-to-day of the tournament, we as the Federation are focused on working with our co-hosts in Mexico and Canada, the host cities, and all of our members and stakeholders to make sure that this World Cup not only has a tremendous impact where the games are being played, but in every state across the country. And so as part of this, we're launching our first foundation in the FIFA Forward. Soccer Forward Foundation at U.S. Soccer. And so we're really focused on increasing access to the game. So think getting more kids in communities and in schools more involved and more places to play. The legacy of the 1994 Men's World Cup was the launch of MLS, as Don alluded to. And then for this, it will be more of a grassroots effort.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, you said trying to get everyone from every state, even without a host city. How do you get those states involved?
Yeah, so we have members in every single state, and so we're working with our members and our stakeholders to make sure that one size doesn't fit all. What we're doing in Alaska, we're probably not going to do here in New York. So tailor-making everything to each state and each community so that it works for them.
Yeah.
And just remember, there's host committees.
Right.
So here in New York, the two governors and Mayor Adams are deeply engaged. And we're just at an event not that long ago where they brought together influencers, not social media influencers, but people that can help move the needle and ensure that, most importantly, I think for all of us, and I'm on the board of U.S. Soccer. We've got a board meeting tomorrow, U.S. Women's National Team over the weekend. We want this not to be a Taylor Swift concert. This has to be something that really deeply engages with the soccer community and leaves a legacy that we'll feel for generations, so that it isn't just a trampoline, as we were talking about in the back, where everybody gets excited and jumps up and says, isn't this wonderful? But that it has depth and a real sense of accomplishment and achievement for all of the stakeholders in the entire ecosystem. And that's a task for our federation, it's a task for all of the leagues, it's a task for all of the members, and we're up for it.
Yeah. And on that note, though, when you're talking about trying to get everyone involved and things like that, but when we're seeing people come to the stadiums and new people and all these people, they're going to wear Australia jerseys, Brazil jerseys, and all that, how do you get them to then wear Rebel jerseys?
Yeah, I mean, that's the task, right? It's a lot about data. It's not just about hoping that it will happen. It's working with our federation, with FIFA. It's working with our ticketing partners. MLS is going to run with On Location the hospitality for the World Cup through a separate company that we have that does soccer commercial activities. Most importantly, it is about having a direct relationship with that person who's coming in and experiencing football, soccer at its highest, and giving them the content, giving them the opportunities, giving them the offers, giving them the players that ultimately will inspire them. I was in Kansas City yesterday with our club and the host committee, and it is about how we can share information with the committee, with our clubs, having Fan Fest that we can control ticketing for, so that all those people who are here are going to be connected with, on the men's side, obviously Major League Soccer, and when the World Cup is here, Women's World Cup in 2031, it'll just be hopefully a lot of learning to be able to do the same thing for the NWSL.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cindy, on that side, as we're talking about what we're going to be able to do and all the preparations you're going to make, and obviously you can try and do what you can for on the field and all of that, and hiring a world-class coach obviously helps that, but you can't determine that, right? So what are you doing on the business side to make sure that this is a successful World Cup for U.S. soccer, and how would you define what success is for the U.S.?
Yeah, I think our men's national team has a real opportunity to do something special. I know what it's like to play at home in a major event, playing in the 99 and 2003 World Cups and the 96 Olympics, and it's electric, right? To not only the fans in the stadium, but to know that the entire country is behind you, believing in you, supporting you. I have full faith in our men's national team that they, on any given day, can beat any team in the world. And if they go on a deep run in this tournament, watch out, because this country is going to get behind them. And, I have full faith in Maurizio and his staff, as well as the entire team. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's hard to define, like, if you make it this far, then this is success, and if you don't, it's a failure. The margins of victory are so razor thin right now at the world level, and so even in '99, everyone thinks that we blew every team away in the tournament, and that is just not the case. It was a battle throughout the entire tournament, and so to have the fans behind us, to have the whole country rally behind this team is going to be very important.
I'm going to make a comment that goes back to the early days of soccer in its current sort of version, the 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0. And back in the day, we were so dependent on the success of the men's national team. We went out, we signed a bunch of American players. We had the MLS strike force, and people were going into bars when the games were in Korea and Japan, and they were connecting to a player that would come off the field and then play for the Columbus Crew. In this most recent window in our game, We take breaks for international events. We have players, 130 players that are playing for dozens of different countries. And yes, many of them are MLS players that are playing for the US, but so's Leo Messi and Rodrigo de Paul playing for Argentina. And if we have 2 or 3, Thiago Mato, who played in MLS until last year, if we have 3 players playing for Argentina, and Argentina does really well in the World Cup, that's really important as well. A league for New America, lots of diversity. So I think the sport has changed a bit. Cindy had referenced Mauricio. He's a world-class coach. He loves our country. He loves our league. I think he's going to do as good as he possibly can do. But we in the soccer business can't be dependent on, the drop of the ball or, the convenience of winning at the right time. We've got to lean into what the World Cup means and then ultimately try to benefit for that from a business perspective and from a fan development perspective.
What does it mean, do you think?
Well, it means if the U.S. does really well, people are going to be saying, boy, we're geniuses, right? And I don't really necessarily think we can depend on that. We've got to do the work to ensure that fans who come see what it's like to attend a game in the United States or Canada or Mexico. And now when everybody leaves, we're here. We have 30 boats on a rising tide. We got more boats than anybody else.
Yeah.
So if they're going to a game in Kansas City and they love that experience, well, Sporting Kansas City's got an unbelievable stadium, a great training ground, a major country will be basing there, and ultimately, how do we ensure that we're connecting with that fan, and also that casual fan who is loving the game but doesn't love Major League Soccer yet. And we've got to have the right advertising during the World Cup, the right content, the right social engagement, the right social media with those players representing what could be as many as 80 different national teams. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if we do the work, we'll be more popular and the business will be stronger.
Yeah. I want to get that on that social media aspect of it. That's obviously something pretty new that you haven't had to do your whole career, right? You've been commissioner for 1999. How's that changed as we see social media and technology and everything play into it?
I'll talk about it, and obviously, Cindy, the Federation's got an active group. It's a massive part of our entire operation. Traditional advertising is not where our fans are living. They're very digitally oriented. We have the youngest fan base. I heard Ted or Gary say hockey's got the youngest fan base. We're 10 years younger than the National Football League.
We got a fight up here.
Little fight going on. It's a young fan base. They're very digitally native. We have a deal, the only global deal with Apple for that reason. We want to go where our fans are getting their content and how they're communicating with each other, and we are deeply, deeply invested in that, as are our clubs. So whether it's through Instagram or TikTok or whether it's from any other forms of social media, we're powering our teams. In the early days, we required it. They had to develop content that they were going to distribute through different vehicles that we would then create those relationships with. Now it's taken on a life of its own, and ultimately we're going to be very dependent on those players, those clubs, ensuring that content is getting in the hands of current and future fans.
Yeah. Cindy, what about for you? Because I watch all the time. There's Behind the Crest. There's all of these different things that the U.S. soccer puts out. But for some of the MLS, for some of the players on the men's national team, they're not here all the time. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, I think it's we use social media to tell their stories, right? And so as the team is much younger, there aren't as many people who know who all of our players are. So using social media and other forms of media to make sure that we're telling their stories, because they have incredible stories, and talking directly to our fans. On a personal side, I was kind of anti-social media. My team has been on me nonstop to do more, so I'm finally starting to dabble in social media a little bit. So let me know how that's going, everyone.
Yeah, everyone follow at Cindy Parlow Cone. Yeah. One of the other things I think was really indicative of that I wanted to get into is who the U.S. soccer market is. We just had the Club World Cup finish here a couple of months ago, and a lot of people were using that as a precursor, seeing what was going on there. I was having a lot of conversations down with people from different leagues who were coming here to really capture the U.S. fans, and that was really important to them. But not a lot of people think of the U.S. as a soccer country. I'm looking at my English colleagues here. And they don't think of us that way. So how would you describe the U.S. soccer market?
We are the ATM of global soccer, of global football. So we created a market that didn't exist. In the early days, FIFA could not sell the English language World Cup rights for the 2002 Korea, Japan, and 2006 World Cup in Germany. No media company in this country wanted to buy those rights. So we did what any entrepreneurial group of folks would do. We bought them. We created a company that marketed them. We flipped them to ESPN. We produced the US feed, and we created a commercial opportunity that ultimately was a vision of creating the value of global soccer in America. And now it is by far the most valuable soccer market. There's more soccer on any forms of media here than in any other part of the world. FIFA's rights are higher here than any other parts of the world. The commercial energy around Major League Soccer, our teams, our league is more valuable collectively than any other league in the world. The value to what Ted was talking about, the aggregate value of MLS teams are $23 billion. So it's a valuable enterprise, and the rest of the world has woken up and said, I got to capture that opportunity. They're opening up offices here. FIFA had the Club World Cup here. MLS, thankfully, was the promoter of ticket sales for that, but the revenues there are massive compared to what they would be anywhere around the world. And that, I think, is a credit to what our country is. It's why we have this conference, and soccer is no different than any other sport. Get the right owners, the right staff, the right vision, you get the right energy, the right partners, and we get the commercialization of sport. So I think it's just the beginning, and I'm curious as to how it's all going to play out. There'll be perhaps regular season games that'll be played here. The Club World Cup had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue that didn't exist before the Club World Cup. We had a final in Seattle for a tournament called the Leagues Cup on Sunday. We had 70,000 people for not a league game. And so I think the future is incredibly bullish and bright.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on it there. There are some teams who are trying to come here and play, European teams who are trying to come here and play in-season games, and you had them here.
Yeah.
Does it, you're poking around in your house. Are you a little worried about that?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about our country is that it's commercially driven, a lot of laws that provide lots of freedom for companies, entities, whether they're domestic companies or international companies, to operate, with the freedom and protection of our antitrust laws. But there's a game that's been announced that Spain is going to, La Liga is going to play in Miami in December. I read something today about Italy looking to play games here. At the end of the day, soccer or football globally has got an incredibly passionate audience. And having worked in the international area at the NFL, it's a little different to take an NFL game over to Brazil, like will happen real soon, than is take a regular season away from England. If you're a Manchester United fan, you probably don't want to see that game go to Chicago. But, if they can figure that out and it makes sense, then all the power to them. Yeah.
Cindy, as I mentioned before, some people were using the tournament Club World Cup as a precursor to try and figure out what maybe 2026 would look like. And they're obviously very different beasts, but some people were pointing to early games, half-empty stadiums, and the heat that some teams were dealing with. Obviously, FIFA has to address some of those things, but as a host nation, what can you do to address some of those things for you to make sure that we're presenting our best foot forward?
Yeah, I think we're focused on what I said before. While FIFA is running the day-to-day, we're working to make sure that the fan experience is good, that the area around the stadiums is electric, supporting all the people that are coming into our country as well as our own fans here in the US. And I'd like to point out something that we haven't mentioned is while this is the Men's World Cup, it's going to benefit all of soccer, from the grassroots all the way up to the professional leagues, both on the men's and women's side, boys and girls at the youth level. So, so that is where our main focus is, because as Don said, eventually after 5 weeks, all these teams are going to leave. And we have to make sure that this World Cup has a lasting impact all across our country and just accelerate the growth of our sport.
Are there metrics you're looking at between growth from on the youth side where it is right now to where you're hoping it goes after the World Cup?
Yes, I mean, right now, every kid in our country doesn't have the opportunity or the access to play our game, and that has to change. So that's going to be a big focus of ours to get soccer into schools and into every community so that anyone that wants to play our game has equal opportunity to not only access it, but to be able to be successful. And you can define success in a lot of different ways. So that will be our focus.
Yeah. And we're running out of time here, but a few last things. I mean, like you had said, this is going to impact everything. And as we're looking forward, it's the 2027 World Cup, the 2028 LA Olympics, then hopefully the 2031 Women's World Cup, which I'd love in writing MetLife Stadium final again. I'd love to get that on the books for 2031. But how does everything like this make sure you're going into these next few times and use this as to set the tone for the future?
I mean, we have an incredible runway for soccer in this country. As you mentioned, we have the 26 Men's World Cup, hosting the 28 Olympics, and then we should be hosting the 2031 Women's World Cup. I'm pretty optimistic we're going to win it since we're the only bidders. So I like our chances. But I mean, fast forward to 2031 and how much soccer will have changed in this country. As Don has mentioned, the valuations of clubs, both on the men's and women's side, are skyrocketing. We have every kid that has access to our game, and we have soccer in every school. So I think as we continue to grow both on the field and in the business of soccer, by 2031, 2032 will be a completely different view of U.S. soccer and soccer in the U.S.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to it. Don, thanks so much. Cindy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.